The light has come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's great to see you here this morning. Please rise as you are able to sing our opening hymn, There's a Sweet, Sweet Spirit, and remain standing for the prayer of invocation and the Lord's Prayer. Please join me in an attitude of prayer. Father, Mother God, let us always be aware that we are spiritual beings in a state of progression, and that we will study, listen, and absorb the lessons of the Advent season. Help us to turn from what we are to what God intends us to be. We ask that we bring your comfort to all those in need. We ask that you help us and all others who seek spiritual unfoldment during this season of Advent. All this we ask in your name, because you are all things. Let us affirm this prayer by praying the prayer that Jesus taught his disciples. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from error. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. You may be seated. This is our time when we repeat the principles of our faith as they appear on the screen, and we'll do it together. We believe in God as infinite intelligence. We believe that the phenomena of nature, both physical and spiritual, are the expression of infinite intelligence. We affirm that a correct understanding of such expression and living in accordance therewith constitute true religion. We believe in personal responsibility, and that we create our own happiness or unhappiness as we live in harmony or discord with natural, physical, and spiritual laws. We affirm that the existence and the personal identity of the individual continues after leaving the physical world. We affirm that communication with spirit is a natural experience and is demonstrated through mediumship. We affirm that examples of prophecy and healing found in the Bible and other sacred texts are divine attributes found in all people. We believe that the highest morality is contained in the Golden Rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And we affirm that the doorway to reformation is always open to any soul, here or hereafter. Our meditation music today is going to be We Three Kings of Orient Are, which is kind of a mystical song. These were mystical people. So just listen to it and let the words and the sound of the music take you into preparation for meditation.
Field and fountain, moor and mountain, following yonder star. The star. Born a king on Bethlehem's plain, gold I bring to crown him again. King forever, ceasing never over a soul to reign. Oh, star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, Westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light. Frankincense to offer have I, incense owns the deity nigh. Prayer and praising, all men raising, worship him, God most high. Oh, star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light. Thy perfect light. Myrrh is mine, its bitter perfume breathes the life of gathering gloom. Sorrowing, sighing, bleeding, dying, sealed in the stone cold tomb. Glorious now, behold him arise, King and God in sacrifice. Alleluia, alleluia, earth to heaven replies. Oh, star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light. Thy perfect light. Thy perfect light. Thy perfect light. Thy perfect light.
Please join me in a state of meditation. Settle into your seat in the most comfortable position and allow your body to be at ease, soft, pliable. Focus your thoughts on that magnificent star in the east that the wise men followed for months. Know that you are seeking the same way the wise men were. See the star in front of you now. What is so special about it? Maybe it's all the beautiful colors flowing out of it that's surrounded by gold and white light. Or the energy that is so elegant that it makes you feel blissful. Or the freshness of it, like a clean, cool breeze on a warm day. Feel it now as it comes down to touch your crown chakra. Allow the energy of that star to flow into your energy field. Let it fill your feet, your legs, your core, your neck, arms, your head, and then your energy field that is within and without of your body. Your breath feels clearer, your energy feels brilliant, and your body feels weightless. Feel yourself becoming lighter and lighter like a feather as you gently drift up into the atmosphere. Remain at ease. There's nothing to fear. Your energy body is just going to take you on a little journey. Feel the light in your energy body expand. And as it expands, it generates a gentle heat that keeps you warm in the coolness of space. Bigger and bigger, and brighter, you continue to grow as you float towards what you think is the blackness of space, but when you get there, there are many different brilliant lights of all different colors and sizes. And you find a spot, and you drift over to that spot to shine your light. And as you occupy that empty space, you feel your light becoming brighter and stronger and brighter. And as you look around, you feel that you are perhaps the brightest star in the sky. Your heart becomes larger, becomes as big as your energy field, filling your entire self with love and joy, sending out great beams of pink light combined with all the other colors. And as you look to all the other lights in the vastness of space and observe their light, spend a moment thinking about the light of perception, the light of understanding, that light which is within us. What is the source of that light? Our light is from the pure consciousness of our inner self and the all-pervading pure consciousness of infinite intelligence. Is our starlight the same source as the sun? We have no way of knowing the source of light for stars, but we certainly know what our source of light is. Our light is from the merging of our inner I am and the higher energy of infinite intelligence. The wise men were seeking the truth about a king of Israel they had heard about. Baby Jesus was what they found. The real gift of Jesus was that he was able to teach and demonstrate. He knew how to merge his energy with the energy of infinite intelligence. And we have had the gift of being able to sample that merging of energy in this meditation. We are going to descend back to the earth plate, back to our seats in the chapel, but we're going to carry some of that expansive energy with us that we gained through the merge. When you come back, check your hair, your pockets, and your clothes. Maybe a bit of stardust followed you back. Please adjust your eyes as the lights come up in the chapel. Our scripture today is Matthew 2:10. When they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly. We are very familiar with the wise men and their efforts to find Jesus. The star in the sky was their only guidance, and it led it to Bethlehem. Now, Bethlehem was a very important place. It was necessary for Jesus that he was born there. He was to be the king of the Jewish people. In order to do that, he had to establish he was of the line of David, because that's what the prophets had foretold. And that was important for the Jewish people. More important for all of us is that Bethlehem is the house of bread. Bread or food is necessary for us to get nutriments for our bodies, for all humans. But more important, Jesus proved to be the bread or the nourishment that people were craving for. In John 6:48, Jesus told us, "I am the bread of life." He continues in 6:63 to explain, "It is the Spirit that gives you life. The body is of no account. The words which I have spoken to you are spirit and life." Explaining to us that his words provide the substance for the soul, which is just as important as the bread needed for the body. So Bethlehem was the perfect place for Jesus to be born, because he would be the person who would bring nourishment to the hungry souls who had not been getting what they needed in traditional religion. Now, the wise men didn't know what they were looking for, really. They knew it was a king that was born, but they didn't know where they were going. They used the star when they could see it. The star wasn't always there. So the star represents intuition. In our truth-seeking, we have to use our own intuition as the path to our spiritual unfoldment, because that path is never clear to us. You know, we think that we advance, and then we hit a fog bank, and we're not sure which way to go. And we work our way through it, and we make another advance. So our unfoldment is a mystical type of experience. But you have to have faith it's going to happen, just as the wise men had faith in that star that they could not always see. However, we have the great internal I am. And if we follow that I am, we're not going to get lost. Just like the wise men did not get lost. Now that star was so special. It was as if one star was chosen on behalf of all the stars to represent them and put into action to wait upon the baby Jesus, to usher men to his presence. The star attracted the attention of the most studious men of the period. They made a long and difficult journey, but they too at last arrived. And these first worshipers were not Jewish priests or hierarchy of the Jewish faith. They were court magicians or astrologers or wise men, not from Israel, but from what the Jewish people called the East. John Piper, in his article, "We Have Come to Worship," believes that they were from Babylon. They were Gentiles. They were not of the Jewish faith. They understood the sign of the star. They understood there was a new Hebrew king that had been born, and it was very important that they traveled to meet him. Yet, the people of the Jewish faith missed the sign completely. We can never take for advantage what is the establishment. We can never just digest what we're told, that our parents were told, and our grandparents and our great-grandparents, and so on and so forth. There is always newness. There is always more to learn. We are here in a mortal life for a short period of time, and we really have to remain open to the newness and to seek the signs. Now, what about this star? Well, it didn't act like a regular star. The Star of Bethlehem has been the subject of scholarly discussion for years, and we're going to review some of that because part of our faith is based on science. And so let us see what the science of the world tells us about this star. Some thought it was a supernova explosion, some a comet or a conjunction of planets associated with specific constellations that would herald the birth of the King of Israel. Most have suggested that none of these could adequately account for all that Matthew tells us within the context of his worldview. When Matthew quotes the Magi as telling Herod that they observed the new king's star rising in the east, this could be interpreted as a new star, something that had never been seen before. That led some scholars to think that it actually had to be a nova or a supernova. A nova is a white dwarf star that explodes. The explosion increases the brightness of the stars 1,000 to 1,000,000 times its previous brightness, making it a previously invisible star visible. But it doesn't last very long. The initial blast of the explosion is only observed for a few months before the star shrinks to a remnant of its brightness and disappears altogether. Well, we don't think that that could be the star because we know it took some time for the wise men to get here. And even though the path was short in today's travel time, if you're riding a camel, it's a different thing. So there is a discussion about maybe a new star. A comet recorded by the Chinese in 5 BC. Now they would not have distinguished a comet from a nova, because all they recorded was there was something new seen in the sky. The comet has the advantage of a tail that the wise men could have followed, given a direction, and it moves. And it does disappear. It moves behind objects in the sky. But the problem is with the comet, it comes back again. You know, Halley's Comet is every 76 years. We've never seen another comet like this again. If the Star of Bethlehem were a comet, we would have seen it, and we could figure out how many years ago the actual birth took place by moving backwards with it. But we've never seen it. So, this is one of those things. Again, we know it appeared. We know people followed it. We believe it. We know it was special. And we just have to accept that star was a divine creation that we just have not understood yet. And someday, maybe we will. It probably shone night and day. Most stars do. We don't realize it because we don't see them. So if they were the wise men traveling and following this star, they probably traveled at night and slept during the day. The only reason I bring this up is because it conjures this mystical type of image of these wise men and their party quietly making their way over a starlit land where everybody else is sleeping and slumbering, and yet they're quickly and surely moving in the direction that the star shows them. It's got kind of a mystical twinge to it, carrying on in the nighttime rather than the day. The lesson is infinite intelligence can interest people to go where they need to go, the ones he wants, by a star. He can attract anybody with anything. He could attract us with a stone, a bird, a sunset. The lesson is that we have to be willing to respond. When we see it, we have to be willing to go after it. And that's really what kind of makes the wise men special. They saw the star and they followed it. We think others missed it. They may not have missed it. They just may not have been curious enough to go after it. We'll never know. Now, what about these wise men? We know that they are called magi, which means wise men. So, they had knowledge others didn't have. They could have been from the Pharisee religion. They could have been watchers of stars, but not worshipers or Persians. We're not going to speculate about them. We're just going to learn from them. The thing about the wise men I mentioned before is they didn't content themselves with just admiring this star. You know, they didn't compare it to other stars. They didn't take notes about it. They didn't mark down how many times it twinkled or how many times it moved or anything else. They were very practical and direct. They saw it and they followed it. How many times do we come to some place hoping to learn a lesson? Like here, for example. And we end up sitting in the chair, and I'm not criticizing anybody. Ma has done it, or I wouldn't bring it up. And instead of trying to absorb the teachings, we're thinking of the shortcomings of the people around us, how they annoy us, what they look like. We have this insane desire to entertain small matters when larger matters are at hand. Matters like, if I listen, can I learn how to meditate successfully? Can I learn how to keep my vibrations high? Can I feel the goodness in me to forgive others or to forgive myself? What devotions do I need to do to help me reach these things? You see, the wise men didn't toy with the idea of a star for amusement or to pass time. They knew the star foretold the King of Jews and wanted to know, so they set up and made a trip that would be extremely difficult. And we often pass over this because we're used to getting on a train or a plane or a car, whatever. Travel was hard. I mean, have any of you ever rode a camel? It can't be very comfortable to begin with. But there were hostile tribes that they had to avoid. There were broad rivers. They had to cross the Tigris and the Euphrates. They had to go across the desert. But they set out anyway, and they arrived. Are we prepared to make this difficult journey in ourselves, to follow our star and learn our truths? It isn't easy. It was time-consuming. It was expensive. And it was probably downright uncomfortable. First, they stopped at Jerusalem, thinking that the government would definitely know who this king was and where he was, and Herod knew nothing about it. Now, it's true that Herod had the facade of, let me know where this child is. I want to go worship him. These were wise men. I'm sure they saw through it. You know, Herod didn't want to worship him. He wanted to kill him. He was jealous of his power and didn't want to give it up. Not only could they find no political leaders, they couldn't find any clergy. It's a very short trip, even on camel, from Jerusalem to Bethlehem, and they could not find one clergyman of the Jewish faith that was willing to go with them and find this child. How much do we hang on to our own authority, to our own management of our life? You know, we want things to be a certain way. We're not happy unless it's a certain way. You know, perhaps it isn't that important. Perhaps God wants us to go do something else, or the Spirit is moving us. And yet, we want to hold on to our own personal power, our personality, our likes, our dislikes. We hold on to them like they're precious treasures, and they're nothing. They can be let go in a minute. Unfortunately, the Jewish hierarchy did not understand this. The wise men set out, they found the baby, they worshipped him, they gave him the gold, frankincense, and myrrh. They fulfilled their mission. We have to seek the lessons of our life. We have to give our gifts of love and devotion to the actions and teachings and have faith that Jesus is our way shower, that he has shown us the truth that to that point in time had not been shown in that part of the world. And of course, the biggest blessing of that truth is that we are eternal. We live forever. That had never been expressed anywhere. And now it was going to come to life and be a giant teaching to everyone who would listen. Paramahansa Yokohama, who I like, he has a self-realization temple out in California, tells us that Jesus was not sent to us to symbolize an unattainable goal. He came as a living inspiration, demonstrating what we all can successfully seek and achieve. Let us take those words to heart. The wise men knew how important this birth was to mankind. We know how important the teachings are to us. So what better way to spend our lives than following the lessons of our way shower, along with everything else that we learn here. We are similar to the wise men in our efforts to find the truth, but they only had a star in the sky for guidance. We have our mediumship, our meditation, our prayers, and our lessons. So we are similar to the wise men in our efforts, but it will not be as difficult for us. And so it is.